Hi everyone, my name is Ksenia and I've been studying chemistry for over 15 years. On this channel I explain the most important chemical topics briefly in simple terms. In this video I will tell you about covalent bonds and between which types of atoms they form. A covalent bond is a bond when atoms share electrons that bind them together. Unlike ionic bond, where electrons completely transfer to one atom, in a covalent bond, electrons are somehow shared between two atoms. Covalent bonds form between two non-metal atoms. Is a bond between two identical non-metal atoms, it's called non-polar covalent bond. If it's between two different non-metal atoms, it's called polar covalent bond. Let's understand it with examples. Let's take a chlorine atom which has 7 valence electrons. According to the octet rule, which I've discussed in another video, it lacks only one electron to achieve a stable ordered electron shell with 8 electrons. This is why chlorine atoms easily engage in chemical reactions. And due to this, chlorine atoms are not found in isolation. They always form a molecule with another chlorine atom. How does this happen? For convenience, I will use the Lewis structures. So, one chlorine atom meets another chlorine atom, and each has 7 valence electrons. They form a chemical bond in which they share 2 electrons. In the chlorine molecule, each atom now has 8 electrons, a field order shell. Look, 2, 2, 2 and 2 bonding electrons, so 8 in total. This chemical bond is called a non-polar covalent bond. Both atoms evenly share 2 bonding electrons. Since it's the same chemical element, neither atom can pull the bonding electrons towards itself. The same type of chemical bond exists in fluorine, bromine, iodine, oxygen and nitrogen. But more often, bonds form between 2 different types of nonmetals. And in this case, a polar covalent bond is formed. Here is an example. We remember that a chlorine atom has 7 valence electrons. And let's take a sulfur atom that has 6 valence electrons. Here is the Lewis diagram for it. The sulfur atom lacks 2 electrons to complete its outer shell, and the chlorine atom lacks only 1 electron. When 2 chlorine atoms and 1 sulfur atom react, sulfur dichloride is formed. Look at the Lewis structure for this compound. Each atom now has 8 electrons. These bonding electrons are shared, and the chlorine and sulfur atoms divide them between themselves. But unlike the previous example, chlorine is more electronegative. Because of it, it has a greater ability to attract electrons, and the bonding electrons are shifted towards chlorine. This is why such a bond is called a polar covalent bond. Polarity appears in that compound because electrons are shifted towards one of the atoms. Polar covalent bonds are the most common type of bonds. For example, such a bond exists between a hydrogen atom and chlorine atom in a hydrochloric acid, or between oxygen and sulfur atoms in the sulfate ion. What you need to remember is that a covalent bond is a bond between the 2 non-metal atoms. If 2 identical non-metal atoms are bonded, the bonding electrons are evenly distributed between them, and this bond is called non-polar covalent bond. If the bond is formed between 2 different non-metal atoms, the bonding electrons are more shifted towards the more electronegative element, and this bond is called polar covalent. That's it for today. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time!